Welcome to Story Capital, where history and strategy drive success.
In the early 1990s, the digital world was a silent, fragmented landscape of text and code, accessible only to a handful of scientists and academics. This was a time before the World Wide Web was a household name, and the internet was a frontier waiting for its first great architect. That architect arrived in the form of a young, ambitious programmer named Marc Andreessen. At the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, he co-developed Mosaic, the first browser that could display images alongside text. Realizing the commercial potential of this window into the digital world, Andreessen moved to Silicon Valley and co-founded Netscape. When Netscape Navigator launched in 1994, it was like a lightning bolt. For the first time, ordinary people could navigate the internet with a click of a mouse. The company's growth was astronomical, capturing 90% of the market in what felt like overnight. When Netscape went public in August 1995, the stock price nearly tripled on its first day, signaling to the world that the internet was not just a hobby, but the greatest goldmine in human history. Marc Andreessen was on the cover of Time magazine, barefoot, on a throne, hailed as the boy wonder who was about to make Windows, and Microsoft irrelevant. However, in Redmond, Washington, Bill Gates was watching. For years, Microsoft had focused on the desktop, believing that the operating system was the center of the universe. But the rise of Netscape presented an existential threat. If people lived their lives inside a browser, they didn't care which operating system was running underneath it. Gates realized that if Microsoft didn't control the browser, they would lose control of the future. In an internal memo titled "The Internet Tidal Wave," Gates pivoted the most powerful software company on Earth toward a single objective: the total destruction of Netscape. The conflict that followed became known as the Browser Wars. Microsoft's strategy was a brutal application of its market power, often described as embrace, extend, and extinguish. First, Microsoft licensed browser technology to create Internet Explorer. Unlike Netscape, which charged around $45 for its software, Microsoft gave Internet Explorer away for free. More importantly, they bundled it directly into Windows. Every new PC sold came with the Internet Explorer icon already on the desktop, while Netscape had to be manually installed. Microsoft went further, pressuring computer manufacturers like Dell and Compaq. They were told that if they featured Netscape prominently on their machines, they might lose their Windows licenses, a death sentence for any hardware company. Behind the scenes, the war turned technical. As websites became more complex, Microsoft introduced proprietary features that only worked in Internet Explorer, making Netscape appear broken or slow by comparison. Under the immense weight of Microsoft's bottomless pockets and predatory tactics, Netscape's market share began a long, painful collapse. By the time the United States government stepped in with a landmark antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft, the damage was done. The trial revealed a culture of aggressive bullying at Microsoft, with emails showing executives discussing how to cut off Netscape's air supply. Although the court eventually ruled that Microsoft was an illegal monopoly, the legal process took years. Netscape, bleeding cash and exhausted by the fight, was sold to AOL in 1999 for $4.2 billion. While a massive sum, it marked the end of Netscape as a revolutionary force. In a final act of defiance before the company vanished, the Netscape team did something radical. They released their source code to the public. They knew they couldn't win the war as a corporation, so they turned their weapon into an open source movement. This code became the foundation for Mozilla Firefox, which would eventually rise to challenge Microsoft's dominance years later. Today, the original Netscape is a ghost, but its legacy lives on in every tab we open. The browser wars taught us that in the world of big tech, innovation is the spark, but distribution is the fuel. And in the race for the future, the giants will stop at nothing to own the gateway.